Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mat podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, it is July 19, 2022. It's Beyond the Mat here once again. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I am joined with Brad tonight to do some WWE week in review. We're going to be talking about SmackDown and Raw here tonight, a little bit of a change up of what we normally do. But first of all, I want to encourage you all to follow me on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. And to join us on Patreon, patreon.com/beyondthemat. We're going to have a little bit of a change to our Patreon tiers. In fact, Brad, why don't you take it away and explain to our listeners what we'll be doing there with that?
Hey, guys. So what we're doing, and it's great to have you all listening to this. So what we're doing is we're changing up the tiers. We're not going to have an intercontinental tier and a 24/7 tier and all this stuff. We're just having one tier. It's going to be a flat price of, I believe, $3 a month. And honestly, it's just to support the show. It's not like we're sitting here begging for money, but it's nice to know that people want to support something that we put a lot of effort into, especially Matt. You know, Matt's pouring his heart and soul into this in a lot of ways, and he does a great job. And I can confidently say that, you know, knowing that you're out there makes a difference for us. And it makes a difference for Matt, knowing that there are people out there who are appreciating this enough to say, hey, you know, I'll give $3 a month, which is not even like one cup of coffee worth a month, just to contribute to the success of the product. And, you know, we hope that you guys listen. And if you guys want to listen for free, that's awesome too. You know, we appreciate that also. It's not like we need the money or anything like that, but it's nice to know that there's people say, hey, this is good, and this is something I want to support. So Matt gives out the Patreon address. You go there, it's $3 a month. It's nothing, and we're just changing that up for now.
And the $3 a month tier will be the WWE World Champion tier. I'm sorry, it'll be the Universal Champion tier with Roman Reigns on it. It'll have Discord benefits, ad-free content, and the ability to co-host a show. And we will follow you on Twitter as well, and a couple other things. We just want to keep everything, you know, organized. No reason to have 1, 3, 5, 10, 17, 25 different tiers. One is fine. We got one patron in the $1 tier. I can't change a tier cost while you're in the tier. So those of you subscribe to the $5 tier, if you could please change to the $3 tier, that'll save you $2 a month. And then if you're subscribed to the $1 tier and you want to upgrade to the $3 tier, Universal Champion tier, that would be helpful. If you don't want to fork over the extra $2 a month, that's okay too. But it'll get you the ad-free content. That's really the best part about it, is to get rid of the ads. But we're just trying to streamline some things and, you know, make it an easier experience for us to provide to you. So at the end of the day, it's just a way of us to streamline the support and get our stuff out to you more quickly and more efficiently. With that, we will get into the week that was with WWE. Big news out of the week. Jeff Jarrett will be the guest referee for the Street Profits and Usos match. That sort of came out of nowhere. I think of anybody guessed who could have been this guest referee. I don't think anybody picked Jeff Jarrett. Doesn't really make sense at all, other than he's from Tennessee, which is where SummerSlam's happening. And of course, we have Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair set for SummerSlam in a Raw Women's Championship match. We have Riddle and Rollins set for SummerSlam. We have Logan Paul and Miz set for SummerSlam. And apparently we have WWE not happy with their card for SummerSlam. But we'll start off with SmackDown on Friday. Now that one included another heel promo by Lacey Evans, her coming out and being pissed off at the reaction she was getting. What do you think of Lacey Evans' turn and then her subsequent leaving Aaliyah in the ring for no match whatsoever for the second week in a row?
Yeah, so Lacey Evans comes out, and of course she's ready to, I guess, fight Aaliyah. Aaliyah's in the ring. She got her grand little entrance, and we went to break. Lacey Evans comes out, and it just, kind of the same stuff as last week. There's no match. There's just a promo. Lacey Evans is saying to the crowd how no one appreciates her, how, she's, done so much for this country. She has served in the military, and then everyone gives her a huge you suck, which Pat McAfee was very funny and pointed out. That's the first time I've ever heard someone say that they have served the United States military and then immediately after have gotten a you suck chant from the crowd. So very funny little observation by Pat. I don't know, man. I mean, looks like Aaliyah's never getting her match. That's for sure.
It seems like they like to just have her do a nice intro and then stand in the ring for a commercial break, and then she gets nothing out of it. She hasn't had a televised match since the matches she had with Natalya. I think on February 11th was the last one. So not much doing for Aaliyah, but Lacey Evans, as far as the heel turn, I saw that coming from a mile away just from the way that they were presenting her. And then, they had her continue to get booed every time she went up that ladder at Money in the Bank. So they picked a good time, I think, to do it. And seems like it's, probably the right thing to do. I mean, people say, oh, why'd they have her say all that story about her life and all that? This was part of the plan all along, to turn her heel, to make her somebody that said, I've been through all this, you people haven't. And, she even said in her promo, I'm not better than any of you, but you're all damn sure not better than me. And that was the same thing that she was ending all of her vignettes with. And so we got her turning heel last week, cements that this week. That's pretty much all we got from Lacey Evans and Aaliyah. Moving on SmackDown, we had the opening promo that we'll get to in a minute, but we'll stick with the women's stuff for now. We had Liv Morgan defending, or at least in a championship, whatever the hell kind of match it was, with Natalya. Now, the previous week, Ronda Rousey defeated Natalya in about 2 minutes. This week, it took Liv Morgan a little bit longer. She missed a backstabber pretty bad, but the match itself was okay. The finish worked pretty cleanly. And, after the match in the ring, Kayla Braxton was basically leading Liv on to, think that she couldn't defeat Natalya as quickly as Ronda. So what does that mean? And then Liv comes out and says, oh, well, I guess I'm the underdog. And to me, I don't think as a champion, you should be identifying yourself as the underdog. You should be owning the fact that you're the champion and saying that, she may have defeated Natalya that fast, but this is how I decided to defeat Natalya. I'm the one with the championship belt. I don't know. I feel like I would have liked to have seen a little bit more confidence out of Liv Morgan and not somebody holding the championship belt admitting that they're the underdog.
Well, first of all, that point is I completely understand what you're saying. I do think that she did look a little bit more confident this week, Liv. I think that Liv looked, a little bit more business-like when she, she wasn't doing the girly, like jumping around and hipping and hopping and, all smiley, and just, she looked like she was ready to fight on this episode. And I liked that. And, look, Liv has got her shortcomings, but what is it with this Kayla Braxton antagonistic sort of in-ring interviews? I mean, she did it with the Usos. Hey, why did you cheat to win on Raw the week before? And then she did it again with Liv this week. Hey, you weren't as dominant as Ronda Rousey. What do you have to say about that? And I think, the way Liv handled the question was actually, showed a little bit of intestinal fortitude, to give you a Gorilla Monsoon reference from his announcing days. It did show that she had a spine and a backbone, the way she came back at her.
Yeah, it did. I just thought that, I would have, if I would Liv Morgan, I would have said, well, whatever. I still won the damn match, and I'm going to win at SummerSlam as well. I don't care. You know what I mean? I just proved that I can go in a little bit longer and take some punishment and win, and not just go for one submission hold and end the match. So, there's a lot of different ways you could slice it. Now, backing up real quick to last week's Raw, I just wanted to touch on something that I don't think we mentioned. I thought it was pretty funny when Paul Heyman told Brock Lesnar that Roman Reigns was going to stick his hand so far up his ass he was going to rip his heart out. I thought that was a wonderful line by Paul Heyman. We didn't get Roman Reigns on this SmackDown. We didn't get him or Lesnar on Raw, which is fine. They're building this one basically through Heyman's promos. And, I do think that having it as a last man standing match does make it more interesting. Everybody wants to fall back on that is the 7th or 9th time that they've ever fought, but they never had a last man standing match. So it's going to be a brutal match. But this episode of SmackDown opened up with the Pat McAfee promo, him coming out here and talking a bunch of crap to a bum ass Corbin. And then Corbin got onto the Tron, said he had some monkeypox. Now, I don't know what it is with WWE recently and, poking fun at different diseases and things like that.
Yeah.
1 week we have
infectious disease talk.
Yeah. So we want one week we have a guy with COVID. The next week we have a guy with monkeypox. But McAfee, this time on his promo, I felt like he had a little bit different energy than normal. He was still good. He's always good. He has the cadence almost. You could tell he was a big fan of Stone Cold and The Rock because he kind of comes off as a mix between the two of them when you hear him talk. And but I also feel like he was a little bit scripted this time or something because he said the TV-14 stuff and some. I just felt like he had somebody in his ear. He wasn't completely off the cuff like he normally is. But how'd you feel McAfee did in this promo and his interaction with Corbin?
So, man, I liked it. I mean, I thought, it did the job for what it needed to do. I didn't understand why Corbin couldn't be there. Maybe he was off and that was taped or something like that. But I didn't understand the monkeypox thing. I mean, I guess that's their excuse for why he's not there. It's just kind of disgusting, to be honest with you. But I thought it was fine, man. I liked the way Pat also introduced Liv for the segment after that. But I thought it was fine, man. I thought Pat got the crowd going. Everyone loves him. It was cool. It was fine.
Yep. So Liv came out. She had the match with Natalya that we were talking about. Good match. Couple spots that were a little bit clunky, but like I said, that they finished it pretty clean. She hit the recoil and then the Oblivion and got the 1, 2, 3 on Natalya. Still needs to work on that backstabber, but that's okay. I still think Liv's improved leaps and bounds from where she was, 6 months ago or so. And I do agree that she's a little bit more confident behind the mic and, she's getting there. So we'll see where they go from there. We also had Theory on this show with his briefcase. He took on Madcap Moss. Now, backstage, we had Heyman telling Theory about how He gave him this great opportunity. Now, what opportunity do you think he's talking about? Do you think that he pulled strings to get him in the Money in the Bank match? Do you think he's talking about in the past when he was the head writer for Raw and had him brought up to Raw and was, helping pushing him a little bit before he went back to NXT? What the hell is Heyman talking about here?
Yeah, it had to be something like that. Like, I gave you the opportunity to get into WWE, because obviously we all know that the storyline says that Vince is the one that gave Austin Theory the opportunity to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So that doesn't make any sense. So I didn't really understand what that was. But I did find their interaction interesting, almost like these are two people that you could see together one day. Maybe when the Roman thing is done for Paul Heyman, which hopefully isn't anytime soon. But that I didn't understand that either, Matt.
Yeah, I don't see Heyman getting involved with Theory, because Heyman seems to always get involved with the big, killer type guy. I mean, he's been involved with some losers too, like Cesaro and Ryback and stuff like that. But, he's always been with the Lesnars and the Roman Reigns and the CM Punk type guys. I don't see him getting involved with Theory. He also backstage, tried to tell Madcap Moss that he did him favors and things like that too. He's telling Moss, go out there and take care, do me a favor and wipe out Theory. And Moss is like, no, but isn't that what Moss is going out there to do anyway?
Absolutely, man. That was an interesting little interaction as well. Very strange, because Moss didn't really say no. He just said, "Oh, it sounds like you're a little scared of what Theory's going to do."
Yeah. So I thought that, they ended up having a match. They had a pretty good match here. It ended in a DQ when Theory started beating the hell out of Moss with the briefcase. And then we had Sami Zayn come out, start talking some crap to Theory. Theory started talking crap back. And then the Usos music hit, and the place just came unglued for a heel tag team. And that just goes to show you how hated Theory is, that the Usos can come out to support a heel Sami Zayn against a heel Theory, and the place goes nuts for the Usos backing up Zayn, who was in an arm sling, by the way. And I really enjoyed this exchange as well. And then the Usos got set up to have their match, their one-on-one match with the Street Profits. So what do you think about that situation?
Yeah, man, you're right. I mean, the other thing is that Theory referenced this when he was, I honestly forget what point in the show it was. Maybe one of our listeners would comment and remember when this was, or maybe you do. But he said, "I got the whole locker room hating me. It doesn't matter if you're Dolph Ziggler. It doesn't matter if you're Madcap Moss. It doesn't matter if you're Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar." He goes, it doesn't matter if you're the Usos. He goes, "Everyone wants a piece of me," or something like that. So, like, Theory's got everyone hating him. And it goes to the point of, the Usos and Sami Zayn are getting huge cheers just because it's against Theory. I mean, you could bring out the most hated person in all of WWE by a mile and they would get cheers, because Theory is that person now,
Yeah, that was on Raw when he said that. And I think that, that's the whole point. They got him with the briefcase now. It's a trinket that a lot of superstars would want to have. And so you put it on him, and then you have all these other guys want to kick his ass because he has it. And they're basically beating him, show after show, even though, the reason they do that is because he's got the heat. It puts over the other guy, and he's still got the briefcase. So he still has the ability to do what he wants, and it makes his cash in unpredictable. But then again, it also makes his cash in seem like it's less valid because he's been losing so much. So hopefully before he ever does cash in, he gets on some kind of winning streak or something like that. I hope they keep the briefcase on him for as long as possible and keep doing stuff like this where he's just creating heat with everybody. And it's obviously having a positive effect on the rest of the roster. If you think about Madcap Moss, I could just see Madcap Moss and Theory wrestling each other for the next 10 years. That was, even Cole made reference to that. This is like the future of the WWE here. Usually when they say something like that, it ends up coming true. I remember back in 99 when Edge first came out, they would talk about how he's the future of this and the future of that. And I would think, that's a bunch of bullshit. But I was excited to see if it would happen. And sure enough, he became the future of the WWE at one point in time. And now he's a legend and all that. And we're seeing vignettes about him that we'll get into a little bit later. But, I think that what they're doing with Theory is interesting because, they have the Ziggler thing going on Raw, which is a smart thing to do. Ziggler, they're putting him with them to have Ziggler work with them and help him and all this stuff. Now, what the story is going to be, I don't know. It's probably going to be a lot similar to how AJ Styles ended up interacting with him when AJ Styles said, I'm going to knock some humility into you. And, the veteran guys are going to present themselves as pissed off at this young punk that's, trying to do all this. Ziggler's going to say, listen, man, I've been there, I've done that, and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. But Ziggler's one of the best hands they have. There's a reason why they had him working with Braun Breaker for a while, and now he's making the babyface turn. I can't believe so many people were so surprised. Oh, is Ziggler baby? Like, people were questioning whether this meant Ziggler turned babyface or not. Yes, it meant he's babyface right now. He just kicked the shit out of a heel and helped Riddle win. He helped the biggest babyface win. So he's obviously a babyface now. But anyway, on SmackDown, we ended up with Angelo Dawkins and Jimmy Uso. He ended up getting a ref bump in here. Charles Robinson got ran into by Jimmy Uso after running the ropes. We get a visual pinfall by Angelo Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins then goes to wake up Charles Robinson. He gets schoolboyed by Jimmy Uso. Another visual pinfall. Charles Robinson doesn't see it. Then Jimmy Uso gets pissed off. Dawkins does the sky high pin combination. Charles Robinson disoriented, makes a 3 count, and now Jimmy's shoulders up for this win. So that just adds to the instability of the referee position between the Street Profits and the Usos. So next we get Adam Pearce come out and say that he has just the man for the job, and that's JEFF JARRETT, Jeff Jarrett. I don't understand why Jeff Jarrett's the man for the job. Can they just explain one reason why he's the man for the job?
Yep. Why is Jeff Jarrett the man for the job at all? I mean, he didn't make an appearance anywhere. He's completely behind the scenes. I think he's a head of live events or something for WWE. He's also involved in Ric Flair's last match, from what I understand, coming up, which is, I think the day of SummerSlam or the day before SummerSlam. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, man, but I don't understand why this guy would be the choice. I mean, there would generate a lot more interest if you had a Sami Zayn being the ref, or, even a Solo Sikoa, or just any current superstar. This makes no sense to me. And Jeff Jarrett isn't a guy who's been in the public eye in WWE and someone people think about. So this reveal was, to me, a real wah, 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 not exciting. I don't get it.
Yeah, they need to do some housekeeping and give us a reason why Jeff Jarrett is the man for the job, and, at least have him cut a promo or do something. Because it's obviously, it's in his hometown or whatever, and that's going to help draw people to SummerSlam. So that's obviously part of the reason. But, he was a great tag team champion with Owen Hart back in the day. He was one of my favorite Intercontinental champions. during the Attitude Era, just because I liked the way that he was always proud to wear the belt and things like that. He always defended it. He had the program with China. He had the situation where he was putting women in the figure four all the time, which is something we won't see these days. And he always hit somebody with a guitar. He had a lot of cool things going on back then. And then infamously, when he left the WWE at that time, he was in the middle of the program with China. He was at the pay-per-view. His contract was up. He had no deal whatsoever. And he basically said, you need to pay me so I can drop this belt to China tonight and get the hell out of here. And I want to be paid before I leave the building. And they had to have the venue cut the check for Jeff Jarrett that night. So he basically held the WWE up for money that night when he had his Intercontinental match with China, who won the Intercontinental title from him that night. And then he was gone from WWE for a while and went on to do other things. Now he's back, has been back in a couple different capacities since then. This time, obviously, as you said, he's, working backstage as director of live events, but he will be the special guest referee. Hopefully we'll see a guitar get smashed over somebody in this match. And honestly, based on all the stuff that's been happening, it's looking more and more like this could be a Street Profits win. I don't know. But what do you think?
I think it could be, man. And you can create a whole storyline around sort of the downfall of the bloodline, and it's all coming apart and unraveling if they do lose. There's definitely a direction to go with a Street Profits win. And I do think it might be time to get the Street Profits a championship. I know that they were the SmackDown Tag Team or the Raw Tag Team champions relatively recently. I truthfully forget which one now that they're blended, but it was, it does seem like obviously the referee, Jarrett, will play a major role into the outcome. But like you said, I think you got to have him, do some sort of promo or something at some point to make that a reality. You can't just have, Jeff Jarrett's the referee. Cool. There's a different guy wearing a pinstripe. So, I think this is going to be a really interesting match. You insightfully said that, we didn't see a lot of the moveset from both teams yet in the first amazing match that we're going to probably get in this one. So there's a lot left to see. So this should be great, man, honestly.
Yeah, it was a great match. The Usos worked it great, isolating both of the Profits, built for a hot tag, both of them. But at the same time, having such a great match, still neither team utilized the full arsenal of their moveset or their finishers and things like that, so they can build to a whole different sort of format in their match if they want to, which they will do. And that's why it'll be such a great match. And that's why the last match, that's one of the things that makes the last match so much more impressive, is that they didn't dig so deep and totally obliterate their whole arsenal of moves and just have nothing left in the tank. So, it'll be a good match for them. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett needs to come out and say something. Just give me some reason what you're going to do differently, or why you're a better referee than one of the people who's actually trained to be a referee. Why is a guy who's not a referee more reliable than an actual referee?
Makes no sense, man.
Yeah, so it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it. We just talked about SmackDown for more time than I think they had wrestling on the show itself. So we'll move on to Raw. We started out this one with Titus O'Neil. Now, this show is in Tampa, Florida. He welcomed everybody to the show. He's from Tampa, Florida, and I believe he has political aspirations of running for some kind of office down there. So that's part of it. I also think part of the reason why they had him out there is because he is the brand ambassador, and they want to show good publicity given the things that are going on outside. So that was a little bit strange having Titus open up, but people respected Titus as they should. A lot of people give Titus a hard time because we don't see him a lot, but he's a brand ambassador. He's not a wrestler. He's not in catering all the time. Let's lay off him about that. He's well spoken, did what he needed to do. Next up, we had Becky Lynch come out, cut a promo, basically say that the winner of the Carmella and Bianca Raw Women's title match will face her at SummerSlam. Now, she didn't give much of an explanation, but if you read between the lines of what she said, she basically was saying, she got through Asuka. She did everything that she could. She related herself to the little engine that could. Said that, she's pushed through all this stuff. Now she's got her title opportunity. Bianca interrupted her. She came out with, her usual stuff. Carmella came out, and then we get the Bianca girl, Becky and Carmella, and it just started. She went back to her, EST way she talks, and it's just not. I don't like it. I don't like the way that she is in the promos like that with the girl and the, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course. That whole, Becky, when you come out here and you say that, that I'm the EST, and you're not gonna. It's just so stupid, man. Honestly, first of all, to me, this was the best match and kind of segment. Not because of Bianca at all. Bianca actually was the worst part of it. I think Becky was great, and I actually think Carmella was great. And I think I have a new respect for Carmella after these, last 2 weeks on Raw, of what she's done. And I found her to be great on the mic. I found her to be interesting in the ring. I loved her strategy and everything that she brought to this match, which I know we'll get into. But man, I feel a little bit differently about Carmella than I did maybe 4 weeks ago right now. I think she's an asset. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I take back all the things that I said about her not being good in the ring. She has worked very well in the ring with Bianca the last 2 weeks. Not so much of the pay-per-view, but whatever. This match was definitely tighter and had more of a story to it. Last week, we had the count-out victory by Carmella. This week, we had the stipulation that the title could change hands with the count-out, with the disqualification, whatever. We had Carmella trying to win by count-out a lot. Early in the match, Bianca blocked a Hurricane Rana, hit 2 consecutive backbreakers, then a really ugly, dangerous-looking fall-away slam that looked like it hurt Carmella a little bit. She rolled out of the ring. Then Carmella was trying to win by count-out a couple times. She threw Belair into the timekeeper's area. She ran her face into the ring post at the ringside area, but Bianca basically no-sold that and got in at the count of 8. Bianca then used her braid to whip Carmella into the corner. She mounted some punches, handspring moonsault off the ropes for 2. Then she went for a glam slam, got reversed by Carmella, sent Bianca into the ropes. Then a throw by Carmella and a cover for a near fall. Carmella then fought out of a suplex, went for a crossbody, but got caught by Bianca, who lifted her up for a stalling suplex. Carmella eventually hit a bulldog after getting back in control. Went for a cover, got a 2 count. Carmella ran the ropes and ran right into a KOD for the 1-2-3 to end the match. This was after she kind of slapped Bianca in the face, and Bianca sort of had a look on her face like, all right, I'm done with this, and just picked her up for the KOD. Ended it a lot of the same spots as last week, but I think they cut out some of the missteps they took. Their footwork in the ring was good. See, that's one of the things that I see when I see Bianca and Carmella, when I see Becky and certain people versus Liv and Natalya that we were talking about earlier. The parts of the Liv and Natalya match that don't work for me is that just some of their footwork in the ring and setting up things just seems like it's not timed right. It seems like they're not getting themselves in the right spots and they have to stutter step, or they just don't know, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing sometimes in the Liv Morgan matches. And I don't know if that's something that you put on Liv Morgan or if you put on her opponent. But in this match, Carmella and Bianca look good, and Carmella has done a hell of a job. She lost the match, but she did a great job. Now we're going to see Becky and Bianca at SummerSlam for the title.
Listen, man. First of all, I watched this show extremely intently. Like I'm not like doing stuff in the background and not paying attention. I swear to you, unless I'm crazy, I did not see anything until they came back from, I believe, the second break of the match. I think there was 2 commercial breaks. One after Becky did the manhandle slam thing and Bianca was down and the match was about to start, and another at some point in the middle of the match. I did not see a stipulation that a count out would win the championship until it was flashed on the screen after that second commercial break. So did I miss something, or did you see the same thing or not see the same thing that I saw?
I don't think they said anything about it until halfway through the match either. But you did bring up a good point. Prior to the match, Carmella and Becky beat down Bianca, and Bianca turned around and ran right into a manhandle slam. And then we went to a commercial break. Referee checked on Bianca. Bianca said she's good to go. And this was all sort of a way to put over Bianca fighting from underneath, given the fact that we've seen Bianca dominate Carmella at a pay-per-view. We saw her beat her last week. So it's like, okay, how is Carmella going to stand a chance here? And so they beat down Bianca before the match, but she still was willing to fight to defend her championship. And that sort of gave the dynamic of her fighting from underneath in this match. Even though she's obviously not, because she's fighting against somebody that she's beaten 2 times in a row. So I thought that psychology was interesting as well.
Yeah, but here's the thing about them not displaying that a count out would win the championship or disqualification would win the championship. That whole first part from after the first commercial break to the second commercial break was about Carmella trying to count out Bianca. I think she threw her into the timekeeper's area. I think she ran her into the post on the outside of the ring. There was a lot of spots where Bianca was trying to get back in, but no one knew that a count out would win the championship. And that was what took away from it. When I found that out, I was like, oh, that all makes sense now, what we just saw. But, to me, that was just a mess up on the graphics, or I don't know how the announcers didn't say it until after the break, but that was just a really weird situation to me.
Yeah, I think there was 1 or 2 spots where Carmella was trying to get her counted out, and then we hit the break. We came back from the break. Then the timekeepers thing happened. Then we had them fighting in front of the announce table. Carmella got back in, and Becky distracted Bianca a little bit. So I think there's a little bit before and after. And then again, we didn't go back and watch the show. Maybe they did have it posted on there and we just missed it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't notice them announce that stipulation until we saw it after the first commercial break. And it would have made a difference, like you said, because, it's like you said, I had to kind of think about the match afterwards to evaluate it and not really enjoy it as much in the moment and say, oh, okay, Carmella was going for this, Bianca was going for that. And that makes sense now after what happened last week. So I actually think that, if they had they said before the match, this is what wins, this is how the title changes hands, but that would have made the whole match feel different, I think. And because you would realize, okay, Carmella is trying to win the cheap way and Bianca's not, because I didn't even hear Graves, or, you would think even Corey Graves would say, oh, Carmella could win the title right here if Bianca doesn't get back in the ring.
I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew, and I don't think it was communicated to them. And I think they finally said, no one said this, in their earpiece or whatever. And that's, what happened. And bro, the whole psychology, again, like you said, of the match, of watching the match would have been so much better. And to be honest with you, if Becky, look, I know you got to suspend logic sometimes watching this stuff, but if Becky really wants to screw things up for Bianca, all she has to do is go out there and punch Carmella in the face, and Carmella's the champion. So you want to screw her over, that's the way to do it.
I know, those are the types of things sometimes where I'm like, wait a minute, if it can change with the disqualification, why the hell doesn't Becky just beat the hell out of the person that she wants to win the title and then face Carmella at SummerSlam? I honestly thought this was all going to lead to it eventually being a triple threat at SummerSlam so that we could have all three of them in there. Carmella's looking a little bit stronger, so I wouldn't mind seeing her in there. And then Carmella would eat the pin for whoever wins the belt. I think it's possible Becky could come out of SummerSlam as a champion. But
okay, so I really like Becky a lot, as I know you do. We're big fans of hers. We think she's fantastic. But for me, I didn't love the fact that Becky came out there and it was like, oh, I got the match for the championship at SummerSlam. I'm the person. Whoever wins this has to face me. I thought you could have created a little bit more of a story around how Becky gets into that match, rather than, what we saw, which is, oh, she's in. There was almost like it felt like there was nothing that she had to do. Now, you had pointed out to me on the side that when Becky beat Asuka, that was essentially the match to get into that. But at the time, no one knew that. It just seemed like the end of their feud match. So, that to me was one of the things that took away from the beginning of the show when Becky came out and said she has her title match. I just like to see, like Drew McIntyre's doing now with the whole Sheamus thing, I like to see someone earn their way in, or the way people were just earning their way into the Money in the Bank match. You have to earn your way in somehow, some way, and it makes for interesting television. That to me wasn't the greatest, but whatever, we got a good match out of it.
Yeah, I prefer when it's clearly stated, okay, the winner of this match is the number one contender, or the winner of this match faces the number one contender, and then whoever wins that match will get the title shot, or whatever. I like world title changes on television. Why not when Big E or whoever, when Roman Reigns wasn't the double champion, why not have somebody drop the belt on a random Monday Night Raw just to win it back the next week? Just to keep people interested, because there was times where Big E would defend that title against Kevin Owens or against Rollins or something, and they'd have to put Big E over, and it would just make it so much more intriguing. Even if Big E was going to be the guy you're pushing, have him lose his title. He can win it back the next week. It's something that the fans aren't expecting. It keeps you guessing. It keeps it interesting. Now, speaking of Big E, we all know about the incident with Ridge Holland when he broke his C1 vertebrae back in March. He has reported that, about at the 1 year mark from the injury is when they're going to reassess for the bone regrowth there. And that's when he'll sort of know if he's going to be able to move forward in any kind of way with his wrestling career. Right now, he's, happy-go-lucky, saying he'd be happy if he was in a wheelchair if he had to, and, things like that, staying very positive. And that's sort of one of the things that makes it so he's such a positive guy that it makes it such a shame that if he can't wrestle again, that his one title run was what it was, because they could have presented him in such a stronger way than they did, instead of making him feel like such a transitional champion at the time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. And what you were saying about keeping things interesting, like, why couldn't have Carmelo have won this match on a bullshit count out, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is Becky really? And then Bianca wins it back this week because she has, that would have been cool. I mean, it's nice to keep you on your toes. I remember being shocked even recently when, like, Finn Balor won the U.S. championship on television. Like, I know it's only the U.S. championship, but still, like, any title change on television shocks me. Ricochet, Sami Zayn, Ricochet thing, that shocked me. That was at the SmackDown in Miami a couple months ago, whatever it was. But, it's nice to see things change, not just on pay-per-views. And, I agree with you on that, Matt.
Yeah, but I do think Becky's kind of set up with, if you like I said, if you read between the lines with the promo talking about, I'm the engine that could, and this is my road to redemption from WrestleMania, and I kept going and going and going, and I dealt with 6 women, and then I got rid of Asuka. I think her point was she made it through all this to get that title shot. And would it have been better if it was more clearly stated and then she cut this promo? Probably. But that's basically what they were trying to do. It's hard to decipher sometimes whether something's explained to us or not. But regardless, Becky and Bianca are facing each other at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title. And next up, we have KO show with Riddle. KO proposes to Riddle that they have a tag team called Bro KO. Riddle says that he doesn't want to do that because KO is a liar. And then we hear Seth Rollins' music start, the burn it down part. Riddle goes to the ropes to look up the aisle. As soon as he did that, I knew something was coming from behind. Burn it down played again. And then he got chop blocked from behind by Seth Rollins and hit with a stomp. And I feel like this is sort of foreshadowing the fact that Riddle's probably going to win the SummerSlam match. If he's going to continue to get beat down on TV week after week, he's probably going to be the winner at SummerSlam. Now, backstage, Rollins said Riddle is such an idiot that he thought Orton was actually his friend, and he turned down KO's option, or not option, but offer. And he's even dumber because he thinks he will beat me. And then Ezekiel walks up and says he doesn't like what he did to Riddle. And Seth tells him to stay the hell out of his business. And Ezekiel says that he's part of his business now. And business has zeked up. So that sets up Seth Rollins and Ezekiel again for the second time in 2 weeks. We saw them fight on July 4th. Decent match between them. We'll get to it in a minute. But first, we had the Mysterios out here. Rey Mysterio faced Damian Priest. Priest was wearing some kind of freaking dress or something as he told everybody to rise. I don't know. What the hell was Priest wearing?
I don't know, man. But I got to be honest with you, bro. You're probably not going to feel it. I like this stuff. I find this stuff compelling, man. The thing that's bothering me about the Judgment Day is just that it's only 2 people right now. But I'm liking this, man. I don't know why. I don't want to turn it off. I want to watch it. I like it. I don't want to leave it. And it's weird. Like, we thought that Finn Balor was going to be like, oh, he's going to be the mouthpiece for Judgment Day. Priest, to his credit, has really taken over to me as like the leader of this Judgment Day thing more than Balor. He looks like the alpha in the group, if you're going to call someone the alpha, and I thought, the match was really good, man. Like, maybe it's that big little thing that just always seems to work, but it just, to me, this was just like a really fun match to watch. And I really I like this Judgment Day stuff. I liked what I saw out of this whole scenario, and I loved at the end with Dom and, I'll join. And then, I don't know, man. I found it compelling. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I know you're not a huge fan of this, but.
Hold that thought. I'll tell you what I think about Judgment Day right after this.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
All right, so Judgment Day, I don't mind them now because it's Balor and Priest. Now, I think they're lacking members as well. I didn't like it when it was Edge cutting these long promos where he's pulling from every freaking part of trying to draw heat from the crowd, the cheap heat, the mountain of omnipotence, and I'm smarter than you heat, and all that stuff. And it just didn't feel right for Edge. I think Balor and Priest needed the change, and I think they're doing just fine. Now, I think Balor on promos is honestly a little bit hard to take serious when he's like, "You're a bad father. You're just a bad father. Hello, mother. Hello, father," and stuff like that.
It's funny.
But
even that, man, like, that's a good line. That's a good, that creates a lot of like emotion. Oh, he's not just, a bad wrestler. He's a bad father. Like, oh my God. Like, that creates emotion, and that's what gets people invested in stuff. Dude, I'm loving what the Judgment Day is doing. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but I'm happy that you're coming around to it.
Well, you know what's funny? Most of the talking heads I hear don't like it because it's only two guys, and who knows who the leader is, and it's two middling guys. They're fine. They're a tag team right now. They'll probably recruit somebody else. Rhea Ripley's out. Now, speaking of Ripley, I see this picture. You saw it too on social media. She had this heart monitor thing, but she looked completely different than how they present her on television. She didn't look like a freaking dominatrix. She looked beautiful. And I wonder why. This is an example right here. They have her dressed as a dominatrix, right? That's her character. Not this beautiful woman that we saw on Twitter. So it's not like every woman in the WWE is presented in a sexist way. I mean, they could certainly lean into her physique more, and they don't. They present her as a big, powerful woman. And and gothic and stuff like that, as opposed to how we saw her on that social media video. Now, I hope real seriously that her health is okay, because seeing her with a heart monitor and hearing that she had brain injury and the dental injury, and just the amount of time she's been out and being pulled from title matches that, are a big deal, seems like something pretty serious is going on. And, I like to see her get back as soon as possible. I'm assuming she'll continue to be part of the Judgment Day. But yeah, they need another member. I think the Dominic thing honestly could be happening. After the match, Priest won the match with the Razor's Edge on Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, after 3 tries, eventually hit the 619, hit the seated senton off the top rope. Later in the match, went for the seated senton again, but that's when Priest caught him and hit the Razor's Edge to finish him off. After the match, they set him up for a concerto and basically tell Dom that they're going to take Rey's head off if he doesn't join Judgment Day. Dom comes in to stop them, says he will join. Priest says, "What did you just say?" Dom says into the microphone, "I will join Judgment Day. Please stop." Priest says, "Doesn't work that way," and then beats Dominic with a chair. I think next week we're getting the Rey Mysterio 20-year anniversary, and it's going to be crashed by the Judgment Day, and Dominic's going to turn on his father. And the savior to all this is going to be a returning Edge, who's going to enter from the crowd at Madison Square Garden, just like Batman or something like that. And he's going to team with Rey Mysterio here against the Judgment Day. Now, I think I've heard that the plan is for Edge to face Balor at SummerSlam, but I don't see why they can't make that a tag match and have Edge and Mysterio take on Balor and Priest. But what do you think about that scenario I just laid out there?
I think you are prescient as usual. You have a very unique perspective, which makes your show great and makes you great at what you're doing here. I could see that all happening. I think a more likely scenario is probably the tag team match, because that would have some major heat, especially if they really mess up this Rey Mysterio reunion, meaning Judgment Day messes it up. Beating down them in the middle of the ring, horror, and all the other superstars maybe getting beaten down who are clapping for Rey Mysterio or something like that. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think Dominic is going to join Judgment Day. I think it will be someone else, but I think they'll get him like really close, like really contemplating it. I just don't see that night as being when they're going to do the turn for Dominic, if it even happens at all. But I think probably at least 75% of what you're saying is going to come true.
Yeah, I think the Edge return's happening, and I think that Judgment Day messing up Rey's celebrations happening. Whether
and
or
that's
not
the thing. Sorry.
ahead.
That's a thing that I think was lacking from this show, was that I think they're saving a lot of the stuff that they're going to do for Madison Square Garden. This is like almost a sub pay-per-view that's coming up at Madison Square Garden. And, I think it left the Tampa show, which was a huge crowd. I mean, they sold every seat in the place. It was a capacity of 10-something thousand. I think they sold every seat and more. So you had a great city in America with, 4 major sports teams and a really great crowd that I think kind of got a little bit gypped just because of what was coming up the next week. I think, for instance, if the next show was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you might get Edge returning this week, and the Rey Mysterio 20th anniversary this week that just passed. But regardless, I do think that, this next week coming up is going to be a very big event. And I do think you're right. I think Edge will return.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, it being in Tampa, number one, that's why Titus O'Neil opened the show. Everybody wants to say it's for this reason, that reason, the other reason. He's a brand ambassador. He's from Tampa. They put him out there in front of his hometown. That's why. He also has aspirations to run for some kind of office, like I said earlier. So he wants to be out there in front of his, hometown and, saying whatever. And he also said, we don't talk about politics. A lot of people try to read into that and say, oh, WWE says politics things all the time and all this other stuff. He's not talking about that. He's basically saying that he's out there appreciating the fan base and that he's not doing it for his personal political, comeuppance or whatever the hell it would be, for his own benefit. He's doing it for the company, but obviously it has a benefit to him outside of that. That's what it is. It's not, everybody wants to read into it being something else. That's not what it is. Now, we get the Ezekiel and Seth Rollins match coming up next. Now, before I talk about that, the other thing I'll say about that is I agree with you that this Tampa show, although it had, plenty of star power on it. You had the women's championship match. You had Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair early. You had KO returning with Riddle. You had Rollins and Ezekiel in a match. You had Mysterio with the Judgment Day. You had the Street Profits and Usos there, Styles and Theory. So they had a lot going on here. The things that bring this show down for me is the MVP and Omos stuff seemed completely unnecessary. Obviously, having 6 women out there in a 6-woman tag match for no purpose other than to continue to roll each other up to have the 24/7 title change hands 6 times, only to go back to Dana Brooke. And none of those pinfalls count for the actual tag match itself, which is weird. And then you close the show. Your main event is Miz TV with Logan Paul going off the air. And you're open to the show while, it being nice for the hometown to see Titus O'Neil. I don't think that many people really care about him that are watching at home. Now, Becky Lynch is great opening the show as well. Bianca's and Carmella's match was great for the first match, but it pales in comparison to Brock Lesnar F5ing the Alpha Academy through the announce table like he did last week, and Paul Heyman talking about Roman Reigns sticking his arm up Lesnar's ass. So when you take away that open, and then whatever the hell the main event was last week, the main event was the tag team match that Ziggler interfered in, right? So
yes,
Lashley was not on this show. So you have this open in this main event. Let's say you put Lesnar opening this show and your main event's an actual match and not Miz TV with Logan Paul. To me, that makes this entire show 1,000 times better, because the countdown clock's not countdown to when Logan Paul's going to be on Miz TV. The countdown clock is Riddle faces Theory or whatever the hell they want to do, and the open.
I would have opened with the Theory segment if this was my show to run, but I think that was that would have been my opening. Yeah, I mean they put him at the top of the 3rd hour, which was smart. It seemed like they had all the top of that. The top of the 2nd hour was, I want to say that was the KO show. Oh no, that was Mysterio and Priest. Was it not? No, yeah, the KO show was, I believe, the second thing on the show. Yeah, so that was pretty early. That was 45 minutes into the show. And I think, if not Mysterio and Priest being the top of the 2nd hour, it was Ezekiel and Seth Rollins. Then the show kind of hit a lull with the Angelo Dawkins and Omos stuff and the Street Profits versus MVP and Omos. Entertaining and everything to see MVP get all pissed off and have to fight in a suit, but it just didn't seem to serve any purpose unless Omos is going to have some sort of issue with either one of the Street Profits moving forward. I don't know, but it just didn't seem like it needed to happen at all. And of course, you had the interference in the Angelo Dawkins and Omos match by MVP. Adam Pearce turns it to a tag match. MVP's pissed off he has to fight in a suit. And the tag match ends in a DQ when the Usos run in. So both matches ended in a schmoz. So you get nowhere for that one. But so we have Ezekiel and Seth Rollins here. And we'll get into that. We're going to take one more break here.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
Seth freaking Rollins versus Ezekiel here. Now, I'll ask you before we get into this. Do you find Ezekiel to be interesting at all when you take away the Kevin Owens not believing who he is storyline?
It's hard to say. I mean, I like the thing of like Ezekiel and Elias are the same person, irrespective of Kevin Owens being involved in that. But I think Ezekiel is very vanilla. You know, he just doesn't have a lot of or edge to him. I did notice on the Tron this week when he entered, there was all these slogans that were put there that were never there before. It was like, speak to Zeke, I'm all Zeked up, you know, which was kind of funny. But he
better than just saying Ezekiel.
Yeah, better than just the word Ezekiel, exactly. But he doesn't have a lot of like personality in the ring. He doesn't really say a lot. He doesn't talk shit. Like, you know, Austin Theory will talk all this shit. Seth Rollins will say things like, you're about to lose, you're about to get your ass kicked, you know, whatever. He doesn't really do anything. He just kind of like wrestles. And it's fine and all, but I think they're going for like, oh, Ezekiel's just like a nice guy and like someone you should root for. And like, I don't know, it just doesn't have an edge to it, you know?
Yeah, if you're going to be that kind of character, then you're going to have to be, you know, a hell of a worker in the ring. And I'm not knocking Ezekiel, Elias, whatever the hell you want to call him's in-ring ability. I think that he's done some impressive things in there, but he's no freaking Shawn Michaels in the ring. You know, he's an average at best, maybe a little above average in-ring performer, you know, for what WWE does. Now, did he have a good match with Rollins? Sure. But Rollins has a good match with pretty much everybody he gets in the ring with. Did he have a good match with KO? A couple of them were. A couple of them were kind of duds. But I feel like he kind of works the same moveset all the time. He needs to get a little bit more innovative, and he needs more personality. And I don't know what they're going for with him, what his character is really supposed to be. But I would say vanilla is the perfect thing to say. I was going to say bland, but vanilla is a perfect descriptor for what Ezekiel is. And I feel like he loses a lot of steam not having that rub with Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens going crazy about whether he is who he is. Because Kevin Owens acting that way makes it feel like Ezekiel's really, you know, got his number and is in his head and all this stuff. And it just sort of adds another dimension to Ezekiel that doesn't even exist, but you feel it. And when you take that away, that I don't feel anything about Ezekiel. I don't care, you know? And so they need to do something. I think they should just, in a couple weeks, just be like, you know what? Have Owens not believe who he is, and let's go back to that.
What I think they should do with Ezekiel is just say, hey guys, it's been fun. My brother Elias is coming back to finish the job that I started. Just do that. Do that, because Elias is just cooler than Ezekiel, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, they could do that too. I mean, there's a lot of different things they could do. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But this one started out with a hell of a lot of chain wrestling, headlock after headlock after headlock, takeover, arm drag, takeover. Eventually, Seth gets in control, snapmare, then hits a running knee. Zeke then counters a quarter charge with a drop kick. Seth hits the ropes, runs right into a huge body drop by Ezekiel. Then Ezekiel's at the ringside area. Seth goes for a suicide dive. Ezekiel cuts him off, runs Seth into the barricade. Then Seth crotches Zeke when he goes up to the top rope for a splash. Then nails a DDT. We hit a commercial. Ezekiel then reverses 2 stomp attempts by Seth after taking a super kick to the face. He hits a nice looking power bomb on Rollins for 2. They trade some blows. Rollins gains the advantage of the fight here with a step up enziguri, springboards right into a Zeke knee for 2. Rollins then cuts off Zeke at the top rope, nails a superplex, then follows that with a Falcon's Arrow, gets a near fall out of that. Goes for a pedigree. Zeke reverses it, gets Rollins up on his head, but Rollins rolls through, hits the rolling knockout punch, and the stomp for the pin. So Rollins ends up winning this one. They tightened their match up a little bit too. It wasn't as wasn't as long, and there wasn't as many spots. That sort of didn't make sense. I thought it was a well-worked match between the both of them. The right person won, and, Seth made Ezekiel look like a competent wrestler in there. And what'd you think of the match?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Doesn't Ezekiel do that deep six move? Like, almost, I know it's not called that. I don't think it's called that when he does it, but it's like that spinning. He kind of drops you, almost like the Happy Corbin move. Happy makes it look better.
Ezekiel does a big spinning spine buster.
Yeah, that's what he does. It looked really good this week. He did it to Seth, and it looked really good. But still, man, the match. I'm happy Seth won. Seth Rollins obviously is the right person to win, like you said, and it didn't have any consequence to it. This match, it really didn't matter. There was a win for Seth Rollins. Great, awesome. That's all you could say about it.
Yep, but then again, a lot of people say Rollins loses too much. Probably going to lose at SummerSlam to put Riddle over. So getting Rollins the win here, I guess, at least satisfies people who don't like seeing him lose every match. And, it makes him look, strong. He was in command of basically the whole match. So
I'm still really happy that Seth did not lose to Roman at the Royal Rumble. I'm really happy about that. In retrospect, based on what's happened to Seth the last few months with Cody and, losing to this one and that one, the losing Money in the Bank, I'm really happy he didn't lose that match, man. Because, in the biggest match, he actually won. And we still have not seen a conclusion to that, which I still want to see. I still want to see a conclusion to that, the Roman Seth thing.
Yep. I want to too. I'd like to see what Seth ever did with that folder that he got out of that ladder match that he won and never got a title shot because of it back in the fall.
Yep.
So we get Angelo Dawkins versus Omos. Now, we talked about this earlier. Led to MVP interfering. Pierce comes out, makes it a tag team match. So we get the Profits versus. Now you had in the singles match, you had Montez Ford, playing cat and mouse, trying to distract Omos without getting disqualified by the referee. Then MVP tries for a distraction. He gets disqualified. They turn it to a tag match. And then this ends in a DQ when the Usos come in to beat down the Street Profits. We end up with the big brawl here. To me, there wasn't much freaking point to this at all, other than to get these guys on the show. Do you have anything to say about this?
No, I thought it was a waste of time. And I like all the people in the ring, but I didn't think it had any point. See, I like when things have a point, and even if it's just advancing something in some way, this didn't advance anything. The Street Profits don't have anything to do with Omos and MVP. They do have something to do with the Usos. Fine, the Usos came in and they gave him another beatdown. That's the way that we saw SmackDown end. So I didn't need that again, personally.
Yeah, it feels like this episode was sort of a holding pattern episode. I try to liken it to a book. If you're reading a book and, some chapters are more in depth and have more substance than others, then you might read chapter 1, 2, 3, and then chapter 4 is like 2 pages long, and it just barely connects a couple different things, or gives you a harbinger for things to come, or a callback to something, or a setup to something that pays off later. I don't even know if any of that was included in this show, but we did get the advancement of the women's championship stuff. We got some stuff with Theory that we'll move on to in a minute here. The Judgment Day stuff, advanced the Mysterio feud with Priest and Judgment Day and all that. You had the KO show with Riddle, which basically showed us that Riddle doesn't want to team up with KO, which honestly I'd be interested to see that, but we're not going to see that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
dude, that was something we glossed over. But you're right. Like when he said bro KO, I mean that would have been really cool if Kevin Owens was about to do something dirty. They teamed up for a couple of weeks. Kevin Owens was about to kind of backstab Riddle. And that's when, Orton comes back to RKO Kevin Owens and that thing, just that would have been a cool little thing that people could have latched onto for a little while, which people would have liked, I think,
Yeah. Instead, they teased it. And I mean, I still think Kevin Owens is going to end up tag teaming with somebody, most likely Sami Zayn or something like that, because they're friends and, it might happen after they do the next draft or something, but I think we'll see something like that. That's something in the pipeline. I think that is down the road. And you never know. Like I always say, like you can analyze these shows in a vacuum and say, well, what the hell did any of this mean? When you apply everything around it, it could mean something. But there's not much that Omos and MVP messed around with the Street Profits can mean to me, unless down the road it means something. And to me, we've seen Omos mess around with basically every tag team there is when he was with Styles. So now it's just over and over again, tree slam to this guy, tree slam to that guy. Now, you said it last week, and I'll repeat it. Omos does look like he's a little bit more capable in the ring, and his footwork's better. He's in position more. He moves a little bit better. And he sells other people's offense a lot better than he did before. He seems a little bit safer. So, he's no Undertaker, but he's getting there at least. Not getting to Undertaker status, but he's getting at least to acceptable in-ring performer status.
Yeah, he's improving for sure. And I don't mind watching Omos. It's just, when something has nothing to do, and like you said, it could down the line, but still, it's not going to be anything major, probably. I mean, what could it be? That the Street Profits win the championship and their first opponent is MVP and Omos? Okay, maybe. If it's not that, then it meant nothing, So even to me, and look, not to get back to this, but I'll say really briefly, the Judgment Day thing, it didn't just advance to me the Mysterios versus the Judgment Day thing, but it advanced also like we're looking for new members and we're looking to take someone and you have to pledge loyalty to us. And I think that's what we saw next was a brief backstage promo with the Judgment Day saying, Dominic, that's not how it's done. That's not how it's done. You're supposed to bash your father's head in with the chair. Then we'll accept you into the Judgment Day. We're not going to just allow you in. So I think that was the next thing that we saw after this Street Profits and Omos thing.
Yeah, well, another thing we saw backstage was Veer Mahan with Megan Moran, and it might have been Schreiber. It was either Schreiber or Moran he was with, but goes to ask him a question. He says, boo, and walks away. Now, he looked pretty dapper with his hair slicked over the way it was, but what the hell was that all about?
Just like, I'm here.
But boo?
Yeah. Well, that he's like a threatening guy. Like, you know what I mean. I mean, that she's supposed to get a little scared. Like, boo, I'm about to get you. Oh, no. Like it was almost like a "I'm about to attack you" boo. It wasn't like,
I just
boo.
feel like he cut a promo a couple weeks ago. He sounded well spoken, and then they make him say boo like he's a freaking monster and doesn't know how to talk. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man. Yeah, man. I don't know, and they don't really have him doing anything right now, Veer, at all.
yeah. At least they kept him on television.
Yep, they got him on TV for a second.
Yep. So we get Theory come out next, getting ready for his match with AJ Styles. Comes out, basically says what you were saying earlier. He's got everybody hating him: Roman Reigns, Lesnar, Madcap Moss, Dolph Ziggler, Riddle, whoever the hell else he mentioned. Basically says everybody hates him, which is true. Everybody does hate him. He cut a pretty good promo there. AJ Styles interrupts him, comes out and says that he's going to knock some humility into him. And I felt like AJ played his part right. He ended up knocking him to ringside before the ring. But talk to me about how you felt about Styles and Theory's exchange here, particularly Theory's promo to begin with, but then, you know, the Styles follow-up leading into the match.
To me, other than the Bianca Carmella match and the Becky thing, this was easily the best thing that was on the show. I mean, Theory was so good. You know, when he was talking and they were doing the what thing, which I hate it, but they were doing the what thing. First of all, everything he said had meaning to it. Everything he said was, you know, important in my opinion, what Theory was saying. And then the crowd's going, what? And I'm saying to myself, man, I wish he would just address this. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's a young guy. He probably, needs to remember his lines and needs to stay on script. But he just did it real smooth. He just said, stop saying what? You idiots, say what? One more time. He was really good with it. And I love the fact that he could improvise and then go back to what he was doing. And to me right there, I said, this guy is freaking awesome. Again, like, you don't have to like the character to appreciate the work. And like and I do like the character actually personally, but I thought it was awesome, man. I thought he was so good. He was getting real pissed off at the crowd and they were pissed at him. And that's exactly what you want. Like, you want them to hate you because that's what your character is supposed to be. And he's pulling it off magnificently. He did such a great job. And then when Styles came out, he gave you some real stuff. Like he said, you were in Barnes in Georgia when you were my age. And when you were 30, you were kicking people in the head in Barnes in Georgia for 20 people. And look at me. I'm Mr. Money in the Bank. I'm with Mr. McMahon. I'm this, I'm that. And you wish you could be me. And it was so good, man. Matt, did you appreciate this to the level that I did?
Yeah, I appreciated it because it's, holistically speaking, you got Mr. Money in the Bank, dickhead, prick Theory out there gloating about what he's doing. You have Styles, who they're trying to rebuild. He's a well-loved babyface by the fans. So, perfect guy for Theory to be dealing with here as he cycles through people who are just going to beat him and continue to gain heat. So you got Theory here. You put AJ Styles over in the match. Now this one ended with a count out, but I think that the way that they're playing this and having Theory be a complete asshole and have everybody hating him is working, number one, and is a great way to do it. And it's a great way to put over your baby faces like Styles, like your younger guys like Madcap, to get a guy like Dolph Ziggler who's underappreciated, back in the mix, have him babyface, have him work with him, help bring him up. I think the story there with Ziggler is almost along the lines of what Styles was saying, and even what Theory was saying to Styles. Back then you were this, and I'm this and that and the other thing. And Ziggler and Styles, they've been in there and done that, all the things that Theory's saying that he's doing or has done or is going to do. So like it gives you that impression. It's like, okay, we're the veterans here and we're going to teach you what it's like to have that. And we're going to teach you that it ain't all freaking roses to have the briefcase. That shit can actually turn south on you too. And, that's something I think Ziggler, whenever the hell he ever talks, it may say, I won that Money in the Bank briefcase too. And my career hasn't been the same ever since, So, and now he's not going to say that, but at the end of the day, Ziggler comes out for this match just like he did last week. He ends up super kicking Theory ringside, and Theory looks like a complete idiot trying to get back into the ring, grab it onto the apron, slip it on the floor, loses by count out, gets back into the ring after he loses, only to eat a Styles clash from AJ Styles. So Theory loses by count out here. Kind of protects him a little bit, not taking the pinfall, but he looked like a complete fool trying to get back in. He grabbed the apron and it almost fell off. But at the end of the day,
he's so good at selling.
Yeah, he's
so good at it. And I forgot the Dolph Ziggler super kick in the ring the week before, which closed Raw, when they showed the clip of it. Theory flops like he is literally a lifeless corpse after that kick. He drops to the ground in the most lifeless, just like a dead body dummy way. He's really good at it, man. He's really good at selling, and I just love seeing it, man. I love seeing. That's why I was laughing when you said he looked like an idiot trying to get back in the ring. Yeah, because he did it so damn good. He was so awesome at it.
Yeah, he's definitely doing well with his in-ring work. That rolling drop kick he does looks really nice when he comes off the ropes and does the somersault into the drop kick. That's a really nice looking move he does.
Oh yeah, it's high too. It's very high.
Yeah, he's hit that Spanish fly on the top ropes a couple times. He does some really nice stuff. His selling's really good. His promos are getting better each time. I do think that he gets a little bit flustered when the crowd whats him. If he's having to stop and tell the crowd shut up when they're whatting it, like he needs to just power through his promo, even though it's sort of along the lines of what a heel would do, to tell the crowd to shut up. It's something Vince used to do all the time when he was a character. Triple H used to do it. Stephanie McMahon used to do it. A lot of heels tell the crowd to shut up. But when they're whatting you, first of all, I think the crowd needs to stop the whatting stuff. I hate it when the crowd does the what.
It sucks.
But at the same time, so I hate it when they do that. When people are doing it to you, you just got to work right through it. I think that when you react to it, you're playing into it. And so that's the only negative mark I can give Theory here. I thought this was an excellent promo. I thought AJ Styles did his part very well. I thought they worked the match really well. There was different time. Styles had him in the calf crusher at one point, and Theory made the ropes. They did a lot of nice little spots there. I really liked it.
Yeah, best part of the show to me. I actually liked it better than the Carmella Bianca thing, but it was close. But I just really liked this, man. Really liked it.
I thought it was well done.
And the other thing is, like, it's the only thing of consequence to me on the show because you don't have another belt. The main prize on this show is now the briefcase. As we all know, there's no Monday Night Raw championship. There's no WWE championship. There's
the
no
U.S. titles, I think, is what they're trying to make the big thing there. Lashley was just off this week, but
right, and Lashley being off this week really hyper emphasized that.
Yeah. Don't say there's no title because we had the 24/7 title change hands 6 times in a match where Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Dana Brooke took on Doudrop, Nikki ASH, and Tamina. I think all 6 of them held the 24/7 title at one point during this match, and as did Akira Tozawa, who came out from underneath the ring to roll somebody up at some point. Eventually, Dana Brooke rolls up Tamina or somebody. I don't know who the hell she rolled up, but she ended up walking away with the 24/7 belt, and the face team won the tag team match. That's really all we need to say about that match.
Asuka did not have the 24/7.
Okay, so Asuka did not get it. Good for her. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ, even Alexa Bliss had it. Which,
yep.
I'll say something about Alexa Bliss. They're not that impressed with her in-ring work lately. That's why she's not getting pushed to the title picture. I don't really know what to make of that. I don't think her in-ring work's been that sloppy at all. I mean, I can point at other people that seem like they are more prone to mistakes than Alexa Bliss. But even so, this whole segment's a 24/7 segment, basically. I mean, let's get all 6 of these ladies on TV and let's do our 24/7 thing. Now, what makes no sense is you got pinfalls happening for the 24/7 title, but they're not counting for the match that's happening at the same time.
Right.
What the hell sense does that make?
I guess because there's people who are not in the match, but if that's the case, then why is it not a disqualification? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just wish that they'd do something different with all these women, really. I mean, I like Doudrop, Asuka is what she is. Alexa Bliss is a fan favorite. Dana Brooke doesn't bring much to the table, but whatever. Nikki ASH doesn't bring much to the table, but whatever. She can, though, if she wasn't wearing that stupid costume. And, Tamina's a veteran that could, be gatekeeping and doing things better than just messing around with Tozawa and running around with the 24/7 crew. If they got rid of that 24/7 title and just had, people fighting meaningful matches, it would make so much of a difference.
I think it's fine for like a funny backstage segment with R-Truth and, something like that. But I don't like it when it gets brought into like a regular match like this, to your point. I honestly, I don't need to get rid of it. I just don't need, it involved in like something you think you're going to see that involves serious competitors like Alexa and Asuka and Doudrop. I mean, we need to see, so Tozawa running in the ring. I don't think we need that.
The other thing is, what the hell is the point of doing all of it if it's going to just end up back on the same person's waist or shoulder or wherever they hold it that it was to begin with? Do all this stuff, everybody to hold it for 10 seconds, and then, you get 6 title changes in 45 seconds only to have the original title holder walk out with it. How about all that chaos leads to a change, a permanent change that lasts more than 10 seconds?
I don't know, maybe they're trying to like establish Dana Brooke as like a long time holder of this, like a more established. I understand it just changed and changed and changed. It did that at a house show recently too. Dewdrop had won it, and then Dana Brooke ended up winning it back. There was actually no change at the end of the day. I don't know. Whatever. It just seems like it kind of is Dana Brooke's title now, more than this rotating thing that it's always been. But yeah, it doesn't make it any better.
Well, the problem is fans don't just see it as a downgrade. So if you're in a segment that involves that, they think that you're somebody who's probably about to get fired or something. And that's not the case. Like Dewdrop is not in danger of losing her job. She has a place there. Bliss, Asuka have places there. Dana Brooke, 24/7 champion. Tamina Snuka's been around forever. All these people are capable of doing things that aren't just rolling up somebody and then getting rolled up subsequently right after that. And so you have the Raw Women's title, and we don't have tag titles right now, so there's no reason to have tag matches. But there is reason to have Alexa Bliss fight Dewdrop, or Asuka fight Dewdrop, or Nikki ASH fight Asuka, or whatever. And then whatever combination of that, and then somebody else fights somebody else, and somebody else fights somebody else instead of 3-on-3, and then eventually these people, then, let's say Alexa Bliss beats Dewdrop, and then she beats Nikki, and then she beats Tamina, and then she beats somebody else. Then all of a sudden, she's a number one contender for winning all these matches.
She's looking like a contender. Exactly. She won a gauntlet match or whatever. Right.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be a gauntlet. It can be over the course of a couple of weeks. Just book it in such a way that you're putting the women against different opponents every week. You're pushing the one you want to push. You're doing it correctly. You're not 50-50 booking it, so we're getting rematches every week. And one week, one person wins, and next week the same person loses, and so you're back where you started. If you do it in a different way, and their approach, it's just what their approach is right now. They want to keep their title feud separate from everything else, but you could have everybody else, vying for the title in their matches if we know that they mean something. If it's a 3-on-3 match, then we know it means nothing except to get them TV time, which is fine. They need TV time. But at the same time, if they have matches that actually matter, and I'm not even saying that they need to keep track of wins and losses, I'm just saying that Alexa Bliss runs through Dewdrop, Nikki ASH, and Tamina in 3 weeks in a row, then she could easily cut a promo and say, I just wiped out these 3 people. Like, who's next? Carmella?
Right.
And then can I get a title shot? What's up?
Right, which is what they were initially doing with Alexa Bliss when she first came back, right? She'd won, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches, and I forget who she lost to at some point. She lost something. Maybe she lost in a match to Liv Morgan. I'm forgetting. But yeah, she did lose to Liv Morgan.
She lost to Liv right before Money in the Bank.
Yeah, but she was like 5 or 6-0, and she was starting to look like, okay, they're building her, and if you just do that build every time, you can make someone into a contender.
Yeah. All they have to do is book it right, but instead they want to keep everybody somewhat relevant. So then, they do this stuff where you win 1 week, you lose the next week, or sometimes they're really pushing somebody, they win the rematch. I don't know. Whatever. Meaningless match, except it was nice to see the 6 women actually get on TV and do something in the third hour here. But this between this and the Omos and Street Profits stuff that I could have done without either of those segments.
Yeah, I agree.
I could have done without Miz TV with Logan Paul to close the show as well. This is something you put in the middle of the second hour. You don't close the damn show with it. And I guarantee you that some executive at USA was like, okay, got Logan Paul on the show next week. Put him on Miz TV so we can lead right into Miz and Mrs. afterwards. That's the only logical reason I can think of why they would put that in the main event.
Yeah, of course. And also because Logan Paul is a very big name, the guy is, gets 20 million views in 5 hours, when he puts up a video. So.
Yeah. And he went on about how, nobody thought that he could do anything on social media, and he grew his social media thing to be the biggest in the world, whatever the hell he said. I don't know if that's something that's going to get you any kind of babyface love from anybody. I mean, does anybody care about that? It sounds more braggadocious than anything. And, the whole point here is to have him with The Miz, up against The Miz, to make him a babyface. It's part of his contract that he be presented or come away from this as a babyface. He wants to get cheered. They tried it at WrestleMania. Didn't work. People cheered The Miz for Skull Crusher finale, Logan Paul. Now, I can say this. If they wanted that to happen at WrestleMania, then they probably should have been wary of the fact that Logan Paul is pretty good at being a prick. And when he's doing the Three Amigos and mocking Eddie Guerrero, nobody's going to cheer for him after that. So, there's a confluence of things that add into people cheering for somebody. And while having somebody rub with The Miz is certainly a step in the right direction to make them a babyface or make them get cheered, you have to do other things too. Now, they had Ciampa run in here and double team Logan Paul, and Logan Paul escaped, got the hell out of there to go off the air. I was waiting for Styles to come in and help Logan Paul out, although we already saw Styles earlier in the night, so didn't think that would happen in this one. Right now, it's scheduled as Miz and Logan Paul in a singles match at SummerSlam. I see that turning into a tag team match somehow, with Ciampa on Miz's team and Styles on the team of Logan Paul. But then again, we haven't seen any sort of setup for that whatsoever. We haven't even seen AJ Styles interact with Logan Paul. I mean, we've only seen Logan Paul one time. We saw AJ Styles on Miz TV just a week ago or so, messing around about the balls and all that shit. But again, so how do you feel about Logan Paul and his ability to get cheered? Do you think that he did anything to get himself over as a babyface? And do you think it's going to work?
He did have the entire crowd chanting tiny balls. I don't know, man. I think he came across as like, I'm determined to prove that I can. Like, he did say something like, I worked so hard to, respect this great sport, and to be great at it, and to, and you can't tell me that I can't do it because I'm going to prove that I can. I mean, that is kind of like a babyface thing, and a lot of the things that they're doing. Yeah. And a lot of the things that they're doing are not, babyface, like, as you said 100 times with Bianca, I'm the EST, I'm the greatest, I'm the strongest, I'm the toughest, I'm the roughest. That's, so maybe they think that this is like the way that people get cheered by bragging about themselves. But I there were a couple of more noble things, I guess, that Logan Paul said here, like, I'm going to prove to you that I am, the guy that's going to try to be great and is going to try to prove you wrong, you jerk, that sort of thing. So, like, whatever, man. But, like, yeah, Miz is just so funny sometimes. It's almost, like, hard for me to even see him as a villain. So I have, like, a little bit of a different perspective on it. I just find him to be, like, more of, like, a comedy act in a certain way. Like, he's really funny, man. So I don't know. It's an interesting question you pose. Really, it is.
Well, there's definitely things that Logan Paul said that were spot on babyface type things to say, especially to say them to a heel like The Miz. But there was definitely things that he said that were sort of borderline, who gives a crap, or borderline, just sounding like you're talking yourself up about something that the WWE fan base doesn't give a crap about. Like,
beating Floyd Mayweather or whatever.
Yeah, and the Floyd Mayweather thing, that was not a real freaking boxing match. Like, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's just this the social media stuff and stuff like that. I don't think I would put that in my promo to get cheered, but I would certainly, if I'm trying to get the crowd to talk about Mrs. Balls or whatever the hell they're doing with that shit, that's something that's going to get the crowd behind him. Him talking about how hard he worked is going to get the crowd behind him. Him helping a baby face in some situation is part of that confluence of things that'll get you there. And so I don't think just having him against The Miz is enough. I think pairing him with a beloved babyface in a tag team match gets him cheered. That's why I think AJ Styles needs to be his tag team partner at SummerSlam, and it needs to be Ciampa and Miz. I don't know how the hell Logan Paul can get through a singles wrestling match. He forgot what his moves were at the WrestleMania match. The referee had to relay his spots to him from the earpiece. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was so starstruck. So how's he going to get through a singles match? Now, The Miz is one of the safest workers there is. He barely does anything dangerous. So it's not like Logan Paul's in any kind of match where he needs to wrestle in some kind of style that's dangerous or in a style that an inexperienced wrestler can't handle. So it could just be a singles match, but I would find it far more intriguing, far more interesting if it were a tag match. But we already have a tag team title match, I don't know.
We might get that this week at Madison Square Garden. He's doing his own talk show. I mean, obviously something's going to come out of that. And you might get, and you're right, that's the best way to get him cheered. Maybe someone's beating down AJ Styles and Logan Paul steps in to save him, or, who knows, man. But you're 1,000% right. That they're going to need to find a way to get him cheered, and he probably does need to be teamed up with someone. Probably the best move.
Yeah, because otherwise, a singles match with Miz, I mean, what's that going to be? 8 minutes long? I mean, what's the point of that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, man.
And you put him in the tag match, and you can have him tag. You get Styles in there, Ciampa in there. Ciampa can take the pin, so Logan Paul can pin him. Logan Paul, will get cheered because of that, being on Styles' team. You have Logan Paul, Miz in there. You're playing with fire. You have there's a chance that the crowd will cheer the Miz. If you have the Miz and Ciampa in there, now Ciampa, no, that's another thing. Ciampa, a guy that was NXT champion, real tough guy for the longest time. He's in here freaking lip syncing, "I'm the Miz and I am awesome." Like, wow, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, man. I hope that this can, get him involved in a match in SummerSlam, and maybe things take off from there. I think the problem with Ciampa, man, is that, like, unless you really know him, which a lot of this audience doesn't, like, you don't appreciate, like, he doesn't look really big. He's not especially handsome. He's not especially strong necessarily. He's just not someone that you look at and you're like, wow, who the hell is this guy? You almost have to, like, look deep. Yeah.
Same. It's same with Pete Dunne. If you didn't follow NXT UK or NXT whatever, and he gets called up, all you see is a short little guy who looks like he had really bad acne at one point in his life, and when he's in the ring, he puts on a good show, but at the end of the day, if you're not familiar with his work before this, you're not going to buy him as somebody who's going to kick somebody's ass like somebody like Sheamus's ass. Even though that's
why the Butch thing was smart to me.
Yeah, I think the Butch character's fine. I mean, some of the little tropes they do with, put him on a leash and go find all that stuff, treating him like a dog or like a child is a little ridiculous. But, like, I think making him the little heater for that group was cool. And I think that it eventually is going to lead to him getting pissed off at Sheamus trying to hold him back. And we're going to get a Sheamus and a Pete Dunne feud, which will be good.
No doubt about it, man.
Yeah. So the only thing we didn't speak about on SmackDown was the fact that we had McIntyre take on Ridge Holland this week instead of Sheamus. I think they're going to fight each other at SummerSlam to secure that spot in the title match at the Clash of the Castle. I think we all know who's winning that match. McIntyre stole some of Sheamus's moves in that match, hit the 10 beats on the chest of Ridge Holland, went for the white noise, finished him off with the Claymore. Thought that was nice showing there for McIntyre. But nothing else to say about it besides that. Just wanted to recap it and reiterate the fact that McIntyre was supposed to take on Sheamus again, but had to go through his whole crew before what the hell's next? Are they going to have a handicap match and then they're going to let him fight Sheamus?
Yeah, it's going to be Sheamus. I don't know if it's going to be at SummerSlam. It would be a good thing. I mean, you still have 2 SmackDowns left, right, before SummerSlam. It would be kind of weird to leave Drew off the pay-per-view, a pay-per-view that big, but it could be something they do on SmackDown, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at SummerSlam, we got Last Man Standing. That's one match. We got both women's championships being defended. So that's 3 total matches there. We got a U.S. title match. That's 4. Tag title match. That's 5. We got Corbin and McAfee. That's 6. We got Miz and Logan Paul. That's 7. It's already a 7-match card.
And you got Brock and Roman.
I said Last Man Standing. That was the first match.
I'm sorry. Last Man Standing. I'm sorry. And then you remember you're going to have extra time for whatever happens.
Riddle and Rollins.
Money in the Bank wise.
Yeah, Riddle and Rollins.
So
that's 8 matches already. We got WWE openly saying that they're a little bit disappointed with their SummerSlam card as it stands. Now, the way to make it better is you turn Miz and Logan Paul to a tag match. You get Styles on there. But people were talking about Balor and Edge facing each other. That would bring us to 9 matches? That's a lot of matches for SummerSlam. I mean, something's happening on the pre-show if that's the case.
Yeah, maybe that Sheamus Drew McIntyre thing. I mean, you're going to need something over the next 2 weeks to put on SmackDown.
Yeah, they can.
You're going to need it.
Sheamus and McIntyre could happen on SmackDown. I don't know that that's SummerSlam at all. In fact, let me pull up the official SummerSlam card real quick while you talk about whether or not you think there's going to be a cash-in at SummerSlam.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say before, like, you're going to need some extra time. Look, there's no way that the Brock and Roman match ends and it just goes off the air, right? I mean, I think we could agree on that whether there is a cash-in or a teased cash-in or something, it's not going to just end. So whatever that freaking means, man, I think you're going to need some extra time in SummerSlam for the end of that match. I mean, what is this pay-per-view supposed to go? Is it supposed to go 4 hours, SummerSlam? Is it just a 3 hour? Is it? I would imagine they're looking at 4 hours if we're talking about that many matches and potentially adding more.
Miz and Logan Paul isn't even listed as an official match. I don't know why.
Well, he said I accept. Obviously, we know it is, but yeah.
That would make it 8. You got McAfee Corbin, United States Championship, Lashley in Theory, Tag Championships, Usos Street Profits, SmackDown Championship, Liv and Ronda, Raw Women's Championship, Lynch and Belair, Rollins and Riddle, and then last man standing for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. So that's 7, and then if you add Miz and Logan Paul, that's 8. They don't have room to put McIntyre on here.
No, and nor has it had any, type of build to it where people are like, demand to see that, And
McIntyre and Sheamus have fought each other 10,000 times. Just make that a nice SmackDown main event. You know what I mean? That they need that on SmackDown. Been lacking in the wrestling department the last couple of weeks.
Yep. That would be a great main event for a SmackDown go-home show before SummerSlam or for this week coming up. So I have no problem with that, and I think that's a smart idea. I just feel like, I guess the Brock Roman match, to me, I know everyone says, we've seen it so many times. I'm really excited to see what happens in that and what the outcome is of that. And that is going to be, to me, the highlight of the show. No doubt about it. I mean, is there anything that you're looking forward to more than that? Maybe Becky and Bianca, I guess, right? Like, maybe, but probably not, right?
The tag match.
More than Brock and Roman. And the cash-in subsequent potential.
I mean, no, but I also think that, like, Rollins and Riddle is going to be a hell of a match. I think McAfee and Corbin's going to be a way better match than anybody thinks it'll be. Lashley, in theory, can put on a good match. I'm interested to see how Liv Morgan fights as the defending champion against Ron. I'm interested to see how they book that. Lynch and Belair is going to be a barn burner. If they do anything half as good as they did at WrestleMania, that's going to be outstanding. But no, as much as everybody wants to crap all over the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar saga, this is, you got 2 part-timers here. They're not going to be on the shows to build it. I get it. We've seen the build anyway. We know what this is all about. It's a last man standing match. It's going to be brutal. They're going to be beating the hell out of each other. And the cash in, the only reason I don't have the intrigue in it to include a cash in is I just don't see the cash in happening. But I do see Theory. I mean, Theory could come in there and beat everybody, beat the hell out of Lesnar or Reigns with his briefcase, and then not cash in. You know, or distract somebody with his briefcase so that, you know what I mean? Like, just like he did that one time when he came to the gorilla position when the bloodline was entering. He could do that. That it could get the attention of Lesnar, and then Reigns could end up winning. You never know. Something like that could happen. So I think Roman Reigns is going to win, but
I don't think it's out of the range of possibility that Lesnar wins. I don't, man. Only because, okay, I could see something really weird happening. Like, and you referenced this as a possibility. I didn't even think of it. They're both beating each other down. It's, the end of the match. Theory comes in and says, "I'm fresh. I'm gonna cash in right now. This is my shot." And then he ends up being the guy down for the 10 count, and maybe, or maybe I don't know, man. I could see maybe Lesnar somehow standing up before. I don't know how a 3-way would work or a triple threat would work in a cash-in situation or a last man standing situation. But I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that they can do, is my point, that maybe Roman doesn't lose, quote unquote, but he loses. I don't know.
I think the cash-in has to happen after the match is over.
Yeah.
I don't think you can cash in on a last man standing match. That's supposed to be the last match of this feud. That's what they're saying to us. Now maybe they're pushing it that way to throw us off and make it a match that's going to be cashed in on. But I just think that all the talk about I'm going to cash in and I'm going to wait for them to beat themselves to a pulp, and then once one of them wins, I'm cashing in. But I mean, that's the way to do it, is you wait for one of them to win, and then you cash in on that person and you win by pinfall. Because how the hell are you going to cash in last man standing and keep two guys down? He could cash in on last man standing, and Reigns and Lesnar could team up and totally take him out. Just for doing that and fucking up their match. That could be another way to fail the cash in. I just think that they're on a roll here with having Theory have the briefcase and pick up heat that way and lose these matches and put over these other guys. I think him keeping the briefcase for a while is the right thing to do. And he's not, in my opinion, at this point, somebody who you can sell as the unified champion. So,
well, what might happen then is he runs in like he's about to cash in, and then kind of assesses the situation and says, sees Brock and Roman maybe looking at him, and like he's just no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, and he weasels away. Maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he'll make an appearance. He'll fake it or something. I just don't see him following through with it.
Yeah, man. Well, we will see. I mean, this is crazy interesting to me. Crazy interesting. And you're right, man. But when you just read off that card, the Liv Morgan Ronda thing, which is really good, the Bianca Becky thing, which is really good, the Street Profits Usos is really good, Theory versus Lashley, really good. You have an awesome freaking card. I mean, you heard they're not happy with it?
Yeah, WWE's not satisfied with it. Which, that could mean anything. To me, I think the way you make this better is you make the Miz and Logan Paul match, the tag match, like I said. You put something on the pre-show. I don't know what. Maybe Lashley and Theory. Because if you are going to do something with Theory, with the Money in the Bank, I think Lashley needs to go over in that match. You could have Dolph Ziggler involved in something. We got Jeff Jarrett. I mean, how did I forget that? That's the best part of SummerSlam right there. Jeff Jarrett is the guest referee for the tag match. Jeez.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah. But that's WWE this week, man. Are you ready for the trivia question of the week?
Let's go, man.
All right. Well, this is actually a pretty easy one. I'm not sure if you will get it, but. Who was the longest Money in the Bank briefcase holder? Who held it for the longest amount of time? And how long did they hold it for?
I believe that's Seth freaking Rollins. And he held it until WrestleMania. So 10 months? Ooh, wow. I lost.
One more try.
Oh, man. I don't have a second guess, bro. I need to know the answer now.
All right. So the longest male Money in the Bank briefcase holder was Edge at 280 days. He was the first ever Money in the Bank match winner. The longest female to hold the briefcase was Carmella at 287 days. Seth freaking Rollins held it for 273 days in 2014. Dolph Ziggler, number 4 at 267 days. Oh, you were close with
man.
Rollins. Edge was the male competitor. 280, Carmella the female at 283.
Man, I thought I had that, man. And I Edge that was a long time ago with Edge, That was, what year was that?
That was the first one back in, what was that? 2006 or something like that?
Yeah, so. All right. Took an L on that one, bro.
Yeah, no, 2005. Edge defeated Benoit, Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Kane, and Christian. That was the first Money in the Bank match ever. Carmella in 2016 defeated Flair, Lynch, Natalya, and Tamina. And she ended up cashing in for a SmackDown Women's Championship match. Was the first women's Money in the Bank ladder match ever. Daniel Bryan stripped Carmella of the briefcase 2 days after the event because of interference by Carmella's manager, James Ellsworth, who retrieved the briefcase. Carmella then held the first contract for 2 days. Then she held the second one for 287 days, which is the longest of any wrestler. That's actually a little bit confusing, the Carmella one, but...
Yeah, it is confusing, but Mella she was good, man. I got to get, again, I loved what she did this week. I think I new respect for her, man. I know you feel the same way, it seems like.
Yeah, I told you last week when she reversed that KOD into the face buster, into the X Factor, that was a nice spot. Whoever the hell came up with that,
Smart.
And I liked how Bianca lifted her up for the KOD when they were ringside. She grabbed the ropes and pulled herself back into the ring. And then, sort of swung Bianca's face into the ring post. And at that point, the count was at 7 or 8. And Bianca just got right back in the ring. The ring post didn't affect her at all. But, so they mistimed that a little bit. But no, Carmella's been good in the ring. I appreciate the fact that she's been showing that, and they've been giving her the opportunity to do that because, like I said, up to this point, what I've been shown was that Carmella is a pushover, and now I don't believe that. I think that she would work just fine in a triple threat at SummerSlam for the Women's Championship match. Doesn't seem like they want to have triple threats right now for whatever reason, so it is what it is.
Well, guys, to close out, I just want to say, if you like this and you listen this far in, give us a comment on the YouTube, a thumbs up on the video you're watching, tell a friend about this. We really are glad that you're listening, and, subscribe on Patreon, whatever you want to do. We really appreciate those little gestures, a review on Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to do, because, it is, it's work and it's fun work, but we really just love to know that you're out there.
Yep. We really appreciate you guys who listen. Really appreciate you guys that engage on Twitter. Original Simulants, like my number one guy on Twitter, he's always hitting me up. I really appreciate that. That's sort of one of the things that keeps me going. When you guys interact with me, it gives me, the extra juice to push through and to crank the content out, as we are recording this at about 2:00 in the morning. Sometimes it's hard to get all this stuff done when life's happening too, and, so at the end of the day, your guys' support, whether it's just listening to the podcast, is enough in and of itself. But if you want to enjoy ad-free, we have the Patreon. It's a $3 tier. It's a little bit cheaper if you go for the year subscription. We got the Discord connected to it now. Good to go. And other benefits include being able to host with me any show that you would like to, as well as we will follow you on Twitter and provide some other content as well. But the key is that it supports us so that we can make the show better, and it also helps us to know that you guys are out there and appreciate the content that we're giving you. If you are currently in the $5 tier, go ahead, drop down to the $3 tier. If you're in the $1 tier right now, you can either drop out of that tier. I'll leave that tier there for you if you want the $1 tier. But if you could step up to the $3 tier, that'd be great. If not, it's no big deal. I'm not sitting here bartering for anybody's funds to do this. Something that we do for fun. The Patreon and stuff like that is just to get you guys the ad-free shows and to, help us develop, the show a little bit better. Get other people like Rick Boogs and, maybe Dewdrop or Rhea Ripley or something like that to give us an intro, something like that, But it's your guys' support that keeps us going. I do have, a slew of fan questions that I'm going to try to put into a mailbag episode for you guys as well. I did record some watch-alongs that I'll put on the Patreon once I get them edited. It's a pain in the ass to edit podcasts. Anybody who does one knows that. But I will get that out to you guys as soon as I possibly can. But, life happens to all of us, and that's kind of what's been happening. We've been getting jammed up a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're going to do our best to get the content out to you. Right now, definitely expect us to do at least one weekly fix show and probably another show as well per week. And we will always do a show for a premium live event before and after it. So other than that, that's pretty much all I got. Just remember to follow us on Twitter at Beyond Matt WWE. We are the Beyond the Mat podcast, Beyond the MATT podcast on all audio platforms as well as YouTube. You can email us, matt@beyondthemat.com. Brad, do you have anything to say to our listeners before we head out of here?
Just good night.
All right. Good night, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you in a couple days. I believe I have Grace set up to come on Thursday or Friday. And we will be getting into a look ahead at SummerSlam. So we got that to look forward to. And other than that, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a wonderful night.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.